Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Sam, or XJaws, and today I'm bringing you guys a game of ground domination on the map WMD, Weapons of Mass Destruction, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys what is probably going to be the best Black Ops game I will ever bring you guys, and I know that is something that I said about a week ago with the 55-1 Team Deathmatch game, and if you haven't seen that already, there'll be a link in the description of this video. You can go check that out, and on an annotation on your screen, and then you can come back to this video if you'd like. But I mean it this time. I'm serious. The kill death ratio isn't quite as high, but what made this video impressive was the amount of kills that I got, the time period in which I got them, and how I got them, the manner in which I got the kills. And obviously I was rushing, and you can see right here I'm using the Spectre submachine gun. So I thought I would use this opportunity, this video right here, to talk to you guys about rushing in Black Ops and sort of have more or less a comprehensive analysis of it. Not necessarily guide, but I can include some tips and tricks that I use when I rush, and kind of give you guys my thoughts on rushing in this game. So the first thing you're going to need to worry about when you are rushing is what gun you're going to use. So when picking one of the guns, you got to think what class of gun is going to work best. And I think for 99% of us, 99% of the time, it's going to be a submachine gun. I mean, sure, you could try it with a shotgun if you wanted, but really submachine guns are the way to go. And then you have to think which submachine gun is going to suit you best. Well, obviously comfortability is going to come into play, and what is going to work based on what map you're playing. But I've narrowed it down to 4 different factors that are really important to pay attention to when picking what gun you want to use. So those 4 factors are going to be the rate of fire, the recoil, the damage, and the clip size. So when paying attention to those 4 things, you can compare each of the submachine guns side by side. You don't necessarily want to rate them in each category, but you can kind of think to yourself, which is going to work best for each of those categories, and then judge which submachine gun is going to be best. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about a couple of the submachine guns in those categories, and then move on. So, like, for example, the AK-74U is probably the most prevalent submachine gun being used on Black Ops, and the reason why is because it's got a standard clip size, it has a pretty good base damage, it has a pretty good rate of fire, and it has the least amount of recoil, or one of the lower recoils out of any of the guns in this game. So a lot of people see that as basically a 4 out of 4, 100% on that test. And when you compare that to guns like the Spectre, for example, the gun that I'm using in this game, people think to themselves, well, it's got a good rate of fire, it's got a decent clip size, it doesn't have too much recoil, but it has a little bit of weird recoil, kind of like horizontal side-to-side recoil, but it doesn't have great damage. So people say, well, that hinders it, and that's something that the AK-47 doesn't deal, or yeah, the AK-74U, excuse me, doesn't have to deal with. So people say, why would I use the Spectre when I can have the better alternative, the AK-74U? And the same thing goes for all the other submachine guns. Usually they have 1 or 2 areas that they don't excel in, and that can be a problem when picking that gun or when using that gun. So a lot of people will just go with something like the AK-74U. So if you still are, thinking about different submachine guns that you're comfortable with, the best one I can recommend is the AK-74U. And the reason why I'm going to recommend it is because it's not something that's like overpowered or anything like that at all. It actually takes like 4 to 5 bullets to kill a lot of the time, and at long range it takes even more to kill. But that, that's what you're going to deal with a lot in Black Ops: weaker guns and a longer kill time. So the next thing I want to talk about for rushing is what perks you're going to use. So I found a lot of success using the hardline perk regardless of whether I'm rushing or not, but I really like it when I in playing Black Ops because of the fact that I use high kill streaks. I usually use the spy plane, the Blackbird, and the chopper gunner. So the spy plane isn't really a high kill streak, but the Blackbird and the chopper gunner are pretty high kill streaks, 8 and 9. So by using hardline, it definitely helps me out get them a lot earlier. So that's why I would recommend using that a lot of the time. But for rushing specifically, the best perk you could probably use is lightweight in your first perk slot. So if you're somebody who's going to be using lower kill streaks, maybe 357, 345, go with lightweight. It's a really good option. But if you're a player who wants to go with those higher kill streaks, maybe try and get into a chopper gunner, a gunship, attack dogs, whatever the case may be, then hardline might be a better option, rushing or not. So for the second perk slot, I pretty much have narrowed it down to 3 different perks that work really well. And those 3 perks are going to be steady aim, hardened, and sleight of hand. So my personal favorite is sleight of hand. I love the decreased aim down sight time, and the faster reload is a bonus as well. I think the aim down sight time being decreased is actually like the main and best part of that perk, and the actual base, part of that perk where it's the faster reload is sort of like an addition onto that, like a little bonus. So that's what I find to be most useful. But steady aim is also really useful if you're using an SMG that you don't like the iron sights on, or you like to spray a lot with because you don't, maybe it has a lot of recoil. The MP5 is a great example. The MP5 runs out of bullets fairly fast if you don't use extended mags, so I like to use extended mags on it, but I don't like its recoil, and it's really hard to kill people at long distance. So what I use on the MP5 90% of the time, opposed to what I use on other submachine guns, is going to be steady aim, because I like the hip fire on it, and it's sort of like a laser beam at times. You can just kind of like, you can hit people from pretty far away, especially if you have the upper hand. If you see them first and they don't see you, whatever the case may be, steady aim works really, really well on the MP5. And the last one is hardened. So I don't like hardened necessarily on a submachine gun because of the fact that it shoots through walls, but I like hardened on submachine guns because hardened pro actually makes you not flinch when you get hit by bullets, and that is awesome. It doesn't sound like much, you wouldn't think it affects you that much, but your aim gets thrown off a lot when you get shot, so it's really, really smart to use hardened pro when playing the game. It actually does take some time to actually go out and get hardened pro, which is one of the things that we're seeing in this game, is that to get the pro perks you actually have to go out and complete some tasks that you wouldn't otherwise do if you didn't know that they were, you know, necessary to get those pro perks. So if you got some time to spare and you want to try out hardened pro, I would recommend going out there and getting the pro version because it really helps out. So the next thing is going to be the third perk slot. What do you use? Ninja. Ninja straight up is what I find the most success with. Some people like to bounce back and forth between several different third perks, especially because Ninja isn't actually working too well. The sound system in Call of Duty Black Ops currently is getting fixed. It's going to get a patch sometime in the future, and we don't know when that's going to be, but regardless, I don't like to hear my own footsteps because I have a headset, so I go with Ninja, and it works out really well for me. So the next thing and the last thing I'm going to talk about for rushing in this video is going to be kill streaks. Now I already talked about the usefulness of hardline when rushing, or whatever first perk you're going to use. But when picking the kill streaks that you're going to want for rushing, you really have to think about a little bit more in depth about it than you would have in previous games. So everybody seems to be loving to complain about the spawn system in Call of Duty Black Ops, and the spawn system is something that I don't really get annoyed by in this game, and you guys might get annoyed by it, you might not. I don't know. But what I found is that players who play more aggressively, players who rush a lot, don't usually get as annoyed by the spawn system. And the reason being is because if you stand in one area, one general area, if you're playing defensive, or if whatever the case may be, you're taking cover behind something, then a lot of the time somebody might spawn behind you and it'll mess you up because you're kind of focusing on one area of the map or the area in front of you. But when you're rushing, you're constantly, moving around, you constantly have your guard up, you're alert, you're looking for enemies, you're aware that people might be behind you, to the left, the right, in front of you, so you tend not to get into a lot of situations where you're like, holy crap, I had no idea that somebody would be behind me if someone spawns there. So what's really important for rushing, in my opinion, is at the very least, running spy plane. I run spy plane and Blackbird because I think they help get me to my chopper gunner, and also because I don't get messed over by the spawns if I know where everybody is. You guys have seen a lot in this game. I think I got a total of 4 chopper gunners, and for every time I got a chopper gunner, I had to have gotten a Blackbird too. The Blackbird helped me out a ton when running through people's spawn areas, because constantly I was running to people's spawn in this game. There was a lot of time where I would have gotten really fucked over if I wouldn't have had a UAV or a Blackbird, so those are really great kill streaks to run when rushing. So guys, that is the end of my comprehensive rushing analysis. My final thoughts will be that I really like rushing in this game. I think it's much more effective in this game than it ever was in any other game, especially because a lot of people aren't liking the spawning system, and things like Ninja might get patched, things like the sound system in general might get patched, glitches might get patched, but I do not think the spawn system is going to get patched. We've seen problems and glitches in many other Call of Duty games, but one thing we have never seen is any developer or any studio going back in and changing the spawn system. So that's the best advice I can give you guys if you're getting annoyed by the spawn system, is to rush. I love doing it, and I hope you guys via the use of these tips that I've given you in this video will like it as well. This is pretty much the end of the video. At the very end here, I was just kind of raping with the chopper gunner, and my final score was 92 kills and 4 deaths. I think this was a really good game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please do me a favor and rate the video. Just click the thumbs up button. It seriously helps me out a ton, and it only takes a fraction of a second, and I put a lot of time and effort into making my videos, so I would really appreciate it if you guys gave the video a like. See you guys later. Bye.